with Victor Ariza. No John Arnold today, but if you want, shoot him a message on Twitter, shoot him a DM.
Go bug him on the
Congratulate him. Maybe we should just, should we just see if he's listening to the podcast, come up with some secret phrase that you should tell John, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
if you're watching, happy birthday, John. If you're watching
live, yeah, happy birthday, John. That's exactly right. That's exactly what we're celebrating for John Arnold. Anyway, yeah, if you've been missing us, we apologize. It's been a busy time over here at the Striker. That's right, I said the Striker, not just the Striker Texas, because we've got a ton of news going on. We're launching in Southern California this week with more announcements to come. But check out our coverage of El Tráfico, and we're trying to work on the phrase La Tráfica for Angel City against San Diego Wave. But we'll have coverage of both of those matches this weekend, along with the Texas coverage that you've come to know and love. So we're not going away. And in fact, I was just joking before we got on here, Victor. If you're sad about the Striker Texas going away, this is your spot. This is it. This podcast, because I think we're going to keep the trifecta of me, John, and Victor, and talk Texas, especially this week, this month, with Copa Tejas coming to a head. Victor, you've got a big derby match coming this weekend. I'll be in Atlanta for Austin FC against Atlanta, but we've got a lot of news to talk about here. Let's start with Ache. Hector Herrera is here. He's going to play this weekend, we think, and you were able to keep up with him and talk to him one-on-one.
Speaking of a honeymoon period, John Arnold's not the only one. The Houston Dynamo are having that with Hector Herrera, their newest signing, their biggest signing in club history. We've talked about his arrival. Obviously, had coverage on it on thestriker.com, on our social media channels, the press conference, the party they had for him publicly on Friday night. There was a mural that they have. I mean, it was essentially Ache weekend that I think maybe that might have played into the distraction for that 2-1 loss against Charlotte FC. The most exciting part of that night was Ache coming on the field, saying hello to the fans at halftime, and he did speak to the team after the game. It was probably the longest post game chat that they've had all season, which, I mean, maybe rightly so. Somebody needs to tell these guys what they're doing wrong, right? But look, all week it's been training, preparing for this match. From the Dallas angle, I heard some comments from Nico Esteves where he's talking about that they're preparing for him to start. They're going at this like if he's going for minute one, and that could be the case. That's the big question, but there is excitement down here in Houston off the field as well. Obviously, this is expected to reach a capacity in the stadium. I mean, what is it? How are the Dynamo going to manage this opportunity? Over on the Inside the Hexagon podcast, we're talking about it, the impact of what this could be for a long time. For the first time in a long time, I think some people are going to be making their way down to PNC Stadium. The way the team plays, that's going to be their takeaway of what the team could be, right? I mean, is it going to be an exciting game? Can they walk away saying, hey, they got some good pieces? This is not the same Dynamo I've seen, a year ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, or what have you. And the same on the other end. I mean, if they come out in the 50th Texas Derby and they lose against the rival FC Dallas, I mean, that's gonna leave a mark for a while, I think. I mean, Ache just talked about this could be the dream start, and Clásicos are meant to be won. And again, all those quotes, you can read them in English on thestriker.com. You can hear them in Spanish. We'll have that as an episode for you. The interview we had with him. Plenty of coverage to go around, and the big focus is this weekend on that. That also gives it a USA versus Mexico feel, because Arriola and Ferreira are the Dallas team. Velasco's coming off scoring a free kick, so he's in good form, and Dallas isn't doing so well either, right? I mean, Houston's lost 3 of the last 4 since the international break, but Dallas has been winless as well, right? 4 games. They're kind of struggling out there. They tied with Minnesota for the 4th of July game. So hopefully this is not a draw and somebody takes this one. And definitely the Copa Tejas implications. We got all that on the website.
Yeah, and I wanted you to touch. We got a question in the chat that we'll get to here in a second. But I wanted you to touch a little bit, maybe deeper on that interview. First of all, where you said that's up in the audio form's up. Is that inside the Hexagon, or where can people
Yeah,
find
that
that?
audio is going to be up. It's obviously in Spanish. Laura Gomez and I were able to interview him, get about 10 minutes with him, but it'll be in Spanish on the Inside the Hexagon podcast, and then you can obviously read the quotes on thestriker.com.
Yeah, if you go to the Striker, Victor's got a good piece up, kind of the most inside look I think that we've gotten into kind of Herrera's mindset on this move. Like, what's your sense? If you can just kind of give people a little bit of a big picture, and obviously they can go read the exact quotes on the Striker. But where do you think that Hector Herrera's head is at when he's coming over here to a new club after several years in Europe at big clubs?
I think 100% he's here. I've actually said it's kind of he's getting the best of both worlds from what he got in Europe, right? He's probably getting the maybe a little more, but just the appreciation, the importance that he got at Porto with the money, the maybe the bigger media attention he got at Atletico Madrid, right? I do think this is the one moment in his career, probably obviously the best moment in his career because he's in his prime. For as many people are saying, he's like here, he's older, he's 32, but this is probably the one moment in his career he's been the wanted player, the star. He's mentioned it that this is the everything that he's had over this weekend. That's what they sold him on, and that's a big reason why he wanted to come here. And I think that does have a lot to do with it. I do think everybody likes to feel appreciated. Getting the star treatment is something he wants. I mean, there's a lot of elements to this marketing wise, why it worked out, right? His nickname is the Fox. That's the mascot for the Houston Dynamo. The proximity to Mexico, right? Being essentially a short flight away, close to their family. What this market means in MLS. Getting playing time, important playing time ahead of the World Cup. I mean, there's a lot of elements I think that sort of fell into place, and I do think you do got to give the Dynamo credit, this new owner Ted Siegel credit, because putting up the money was probably the biggest part of this deal of getting a player of his caliber to come here, and he did it. I mean, that's been the biggest thing. That's all people have been asking for around here. For years and years and years, just pony up the money, you get a big player, bring a big player, and in this case, it could work out. It worked out as a free transfer, however you want to analyze it. But at the end of the day, I mean, this is finally a step in the right direction, a step in the direction that fans have been wanting to see this team go in, and you hope it's only upwards from here. But yeah, you get the sense that this guy is concentrated. He wants to be here, and again, from our interview, he said, I'm not the kind of guy that wants to be, jumping around the team. I'm a guy that likes to settle himself with a team for a couple of years, and that's what he expects to do here in Houston.
For sure, and I think it's really exciting to get this first game in the 50th Texas Derby, part of the Copa Tejas. Dallas has a chance to get a leg up before Austin and Houston play on Tuesday. And a good question from Carlos here in the chat. Asking if Ache plays 60 plus minutes against Dallas on Saturday. The game against Austin is on Tuesday. Does he start? How much do we see him in both of these two matches? Can he go back to back?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's the other thing. I mean, to me, it's a little surprising that he came right after vacation and he's right into training. He's right into the swing of things, but. He's not that far removed from when he was with the Mexican national team right in June, right? He got a 2-week vacation, and that's it. So I think he's closer to the rhythm than a lot of these players get here. He's sliding right in. We'll see how he fits in, but I think he'll be an instant upgrade from what Houston has. But yeah, I think they'll probably manage his minutes. I don't think he'll go full time against Dallas, but I guess I could be wrong. And I guess, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to start, but he could easily come off the bench. But yeah, I think they manage his minutes to where he plays it against Dallas and then get some minutes against Austin. At least against Austin, I would imagine he even just comes off the bench. So I do think he will get playing time. And these are two important games for Houston, obviously. team wise, trying to get the spirit up, trying to drum up obviously his debut in the best manner possible, getting the fans into it, and if you worry about Copa Texas, they have to win these 2 games. There's no other way.
Yeah, we've been talking about exactly, and they still got, I think, an outside shot at this just because there's only
they have to
4
win 2
games for
games,
each
and
team.
then they have to have that Austin FC Dallas game be a draw, which is possible.
It's certainly possible. Certainly possible. And all those games will be wrapped up by next weekend. Next weekend's match between FC Dallas and Austin is going to be the finale, and just like it was last year, we'll see if Copa Tejas is in the building for that one. I imagine it will be. I think it's going to come down to that one no matter what. But like you said, it could be that trophy could not get lifted that night and be taken back down the road to Houston. So there's certainly plenty on the line for all 3 of these teams in the next 8 days. It's crazy to think about, but that's how quickly this trophy is going to get decided. And for Austin, Verde also broke some news this week: the signing of Washington Caruso, 23-year-old Ecuadorian winger, and he's making his debut potentially tomorrow after they announced his signing on Wednesday. So exciting times in Austin as well. Victor, I was able to catch up. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, you know that it was a sort of a journey to get there. But I left Denver early Wednesday morning, made it there in time for the press conference. Was able to kind of hear from Washington Caruso. He wants to be called Manchita, which I thought was kind of interesting. You were able to kind of help me translate a few of the things he said. He also said he wants to romperla. And we would translated that to rip it, or basically tear it up in MLS and make it to the Ecuadorian national team in time for the World Cup. That's the goal. So you've got a guy who's young, who's hungry. He's coming after a year-long loan with Pumas.
Yeah, Pumas
in Liga MX, and made it to the CONCACAF Champions League final. Played against Seattle. Also played against New England Revolution during that stint, so he's a little bit familiar with MLS competition. But he's unproven. He's 23 years old, trying to break his way. He's got 1 cap for the Ecuador national team, and it was a big one. It was in actually the match that they clinched, I think, against Paraguay, a 2-1 victory that clinched their spot in the World Cup. Of course, Ecuador hasn't been at the World Cup since 2014. No guarantees when you're 23 years old. So this is a now or never moment, I think, in his career. I think it's really exciting for Austin as well, because Austin currently doesn't have any players that are regulars with their senior men's national teams. And so you get sort of the symmetry of a guy who's trying to make the World Cup and a team that doesn't have anybody going to the World Cup. I think they can really work well together. But he's got 16 games left in the regular season plus playoffs to prove it. And I think we're going to see a very hungry young player trying to break his way into a team that, quite frankly, is rolling. They don't need saves. They just could use a little bit of help on the wing.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask you about. I mean, looking into the team he's stepping in, I mean, at the position he's stepping in, and he certainly looks like he's, again, we talk about players who do they have their head in the right place, and he certainly seems like he just wants to get on the field and contribute and get some minutes. Is there a position for him in Austin? Do you think there's a spot there for the taking?
I think so. I mean, you've looked at the wing positions have been serviceable, I would say, since Cecilio Dominguez has been out. He hasn't played since March 20th. And we don't think he's probably going to play again for Austin FC. No news on that front as far as him being sold. There were some rumors about maybe a going away party that had happened involving his family. We're still waiting to find out a little bit more from the club side on exactly what the situation is, when he might be transferred out or loaned out, or what the situation is with Cecilio Dominguez in Austin FC. But it certainly doesn't look like he's going to play again. He's been healthy, he's been training, and he hasn't made a match day roster yet. And so there's an opening on the wing. Diego Fagundes has obviously been holding down that left side. He can play on either side. He can play a little bit of attacking midfield. Versatile guy there. I don't think you have to worry about, if you want to slot Washington Caruso in on the left-hand side. I think Diego Fagundes still finds his way in the lineup. Owen Wolf obviously has been playing really well. He started 6 matches now, I think, on the right wing for Austin. And, he's got 1 assist. He's been working really hard, but I think that you could maybe use a little bit more production from one of those wing spots. And I think that's what Washington Carosa is coming in to do. There will be competition. Owen Wolff, I don't think, is going to give up that spot without a fight. And that's what we're learning about this 17-year-old is that, he's up for the fight. And so I think that you'll still see plenty of Owen Wolff. You'll probably still see plenty of Ethan Finley. But adding another player into that mix, and we don't know exactly what Rodney Redis, I mean, he's been putting in some minutes here and there. His agent says that, it's time for him to get more playing time. I was able to catch up with Rodney for just a brief second down in Charlotte. And he sort of said, yeah, I mean, it's true that his agent's working on something. He's trying to kind of stay out of it. He's trying to just work his butt off and get on the field wherever he's at. But he said, yeah, he needs to get more playing time. And so, possible that by the end of this summer, Rodney Redis and Cecilio Dominguez are both gone from this club. And in that case, I think you kind of needed at least one other piece, and one other piece that can contribute. It's not a direct replacement for a DP. It's not a DP. There's no TAM involved in this signing. It's a six-month loan for a guy who's hungry and wants to break through to his national team, and there's an option to buy on the back end if he does well. And so I think that it's really smart business, I think, by Austin FC. I wouldn't expect him to come in and, I mean, maybe he does come in and romperla, right? He comes in and
you know what? He's coming into probably a good enough team to try to do that with, right? I mean, he's not coming into expected to carry the load, right? I mean, this is a team that's on. That's kind of, I mean, even with the the problem right now, I think at a defense where they've had some absences, right? They're essentially rolling. They just got a comeback win in Colorado. I mean, they're
let's
right
talk
up
about
there
that a little bit.
For the top of the Western Conference. I mean, this is, you're coming into a team that's kind of starting to hit all cylinders, and you come, I think for him it's a similar situation from Matthew Ruti, right? Like he goes into like he went from Houston to Austin to a situation that sort of suits his style of game. And I do think, like, again, from in Liga MX, maybe you don't get a lot of chance because of the short schedule, right? Where you need quicker results, fast turnaround, and if you're not a player providing that, you're not going to get minutes. Where in MLS, you got a whole big season.
And that is sort of the knock on him, I think, from a lot of fans that watch the Mexican League a lot, is that he didn't do a ton when he was at Pumas. I asked him a little bit about that. He said he doesn't feel like he was able to show his best self. He didn't have enough minutes. He didn't have the regular playing time. He's looking for that consistency. And Josh Wolff seems pretty high on the kid. They're thinking about putting him in right away on Saturday. So clearly they were impressed with what they saw from him in training this week as far as his sharpness, his fitness. We'll see if he gets maybe a little bit of a stint. Just I would expect it to be maybe 10 minutes or less in Atlanta, but then maybe ready to go full steam ahead, at least, maybe a 30 minute.
Make your MLS debut on turf.
I guess that's true. If he does on Saturday in Atlanta, but then on Tuesday, they'll be at home at Q2. And I wouldn't expect to see him to start this quickly. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't think winger is the most complex position in Josh Wolff's system, but we have seen an acclimation period with players, and so we'll see how that goes. But 16 games, he wants to get playing time, and he's got to hit the ground running if he wants to impress the coaches on the Ecuador national team. And I think that's something to watch. Certainly a story to watch for the end of the season as we get going here. Austin, like you mentioned, they're on a roll right now. They've won 4 straight for the first time, or not 4 straight, but they're four games unbeaten, including that draw against FC Dallas, and then they went on the road back-to-back in Charlotte and in Colorado. Colorado came back from a 2-0 deficit and won 3-2. And now they're dealing with some injuries. Yeah, exactly. Den Verde Part 2. And on the 4th of July, too, kind of spoiled the party. Really festive atmosphere out in Colorado. If you're looking at
it looked like they had a good crowd.
They did. They sold out. It was 18,000, just over 18,000, I think. Great fireworks display. Really festive atmosphere. But Austin kind of killed the vibe with the 3 goals, the comeback, because it was going to be really, really rocking, I think, if Colorado could have kept it going. A couple of notes out of this one, though. We won't get too much in the tactics and all that, but Danny Pereira picking up another yellow card He's suspended for Atlanta, so there's some depth issues there. They got to figure out what they're going to do with the midfield. And then, Kip Keller, also
maybe he's challenging Valencia, right, or the player that, or just somebody to take his spot. It's like,
Valencia. See, that's the thing, Victor. Valencia is out with his, meniscus surgery, so he's not going to.
That's right. I just remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Kip Keller goes out with a red card, and Johan Romagna is already out from his concussion that he suffered in Charlotte. Him and Julio Cascante both had been out, and they're both probably going to be questionable for this game Saturday at Atlanta. So you've got at center back, you've got Julio Cascante questionable with a hamstring. You got Johan Romagna questionable with concussion. He's got to pass protocol before he can get back on the field. Kip Keller suspended with a red card. Freddie Kleeman, who you might wonder where he's been. Well, he had ACL surgery, so he's not going to play.
I was not, but thank you.
so there's only one healthy center back that we know of going into this game in Atlanta. It's Ruben Gabrielson. It looks like Alex Ring might have to slot in at center back, but that takes another person out of the midfield.
Getting DP money. So
yeah. So you got Felipe Martins. Maybe Owen Wolf steps into the midfield. Obviously, Sebastian Drusi will play. But it's going to be kind of an interesting mix heading to Atlanta here, trying to win three straight road games for the first time in club history. And I wouldn't put it past them, Victor. This team's just there's some kind of dog in this team that they just when you think that they're out of a game, they're not. And I think that's
I've been surprised. I think these last two games, they. With a win at Charlotte and then this one at Denver, I think it's certainly, at least in the, I'm changing my opinion. I think this is a much stronger team than I thought they were. I've certainly got more fight in them. The unity, I think was a theme early in the season we're talking about, right? Maybe Urruti was part of that as well. The more asados, more unity along the team. I still think, and I may be wrong, but I still think they need one. Well, they have Drusi, right? But I don't know if they need another game changer to just get that going over the hump. We'll
see what they're able to do. We'll see what they're able to do with this DP spot if they want to act on that this summer. I would be surprised if they have something lined up, but Claudio Reyna likes to operate in the dark. I mean, it just shows you with this Washington Caruso signing. The first win we got of that was maybe the day before they signed him. He'd been in Austin since at least Monday, maybe before that, and he's already eligible to play. So clearly they had that transfer certificate, all that stuff ready to go. Just shows you the way that Claudio Reyna operates. Maybe he's got a DP ready to plug into this roster. I'd be surprised, but we'll see. We'll see how things go as this summer goes. They've got a full senior roster right now. I think all their international spots are used, but we think that Ciro Dominguez is on his way out.
That would be the one to open it.
We think that Rodney Reyes could also be on his way out, which would open up a little bit of space as well. So plenty to keep an eye out for. But as we go, we better touch on FC Dallas a little bit because that club is still in the mix for a home playoff game. But like you said, Victor, kind of sliding a little bit heading against Houston Dynamo.
Yeah, they slid down the standings. They're down to they're down to fifth place now. I mean, obviously, the West is so close together, right? Where it's one win will get you right back in the top a little bit, or even like in Houston's case, one win will get you right on the edge of the playoff spots. I mean, the difference is so small, but I do think, the opposite of Austin, they're winless, and since the international break, I think they're trying to figure out what they can do to get back in the mix of things. They certainly don't want to slide out of the playoff spots, which I think that could be they would be closer to doing that. I mean, these two Copa Tejas games, if they lose them, they're essentially out of the playoffs now, and that's troubling times.
Yeah, I'm not super worried about Dallas. I just maybe it's because all this stuff we've had going on, I haven't necessarily tuned in too closely to the last two matches, but I still think that this attacking core is among the best,
right?
Certainly in the Western Conference in the league, and Velasco, Paul Arriola, Jesus Ferreira. I think those guys are gonna figure it out. Jonathan Check's been covering these for us. Over on the Striker, has done a great job. I really liked his feature on Ima Tumasi, the fullback who formerly played for the Austin Bold, but has been in a fight for his position with Nanu, a player that I think FC Dallas brought in to start. And Ima Tumasi's been so good that he's been sort of splitting the minutes with him. So I thought that was a great story, pretty well told by Jonathan Check. Go check that out. And also. And yeah, he's also Jonathan has also been carrying the load for our USL coverage. He's been doing a column called "Checking on the USL Championship," which I also think is a good name for his column. Anyway, little plug for Jonathan there. Victor, I know you got featured in the Dallas Morning News. I think this morning with your story on the 50th Texas Derby.
Yeah, and Tomasi, by the way, the quote in there where he talks about it being a must-win game. I kind of like that. I wish more of the and maybe I'm just a little from covering team for so many years. It's I do wish I'd get more of good quotes, right, from some of these players down in Houston or coaches down here. Just a little bit more frontal that way. I mean, that what's there to be lost, right? I mean, we're all trying to sell the game here. But I did want to ask you.
Maybe they're trying to bring some blood out by putting Maxi Ruti on the advertisements for games.
Oh God, that's not the first time Tulane or Unimas mess up.
Yeah, check out Victor's tweet from I think it was on Thursday night. Somebody sent you that the Unimas.
Unless Claudio Reyna is trading Rudy back to.
Man, that'd be a story. I don't think that's happening. But anyway, back to Dallas, Houston. Tell us about this 50th Texas Derby. It feels like it snuck up on me at least, but 50 times in this rivalry, and
Yeah, I think. Go ahead.
I think we talked so much about like Cascadia Cup and all these new rivalries. New York, the Hudson River Derby, LAFC, LA Galaxy, El Tráfico, but like. Houston Dallas has been doing it too, and there's a lot of bad blood between those fan bases. So tell me what you were able to uncover with the 50th coming up.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously fans. I think this one's one probably fans care a little bit more about, and that's not to say the players don't. I just think that there's a lot to this Dallas versus Houston. It's just part of the culture, right? Whatever city you live in, and I'm sure John will attest to the same thing. There's a reason why it transcends over to every sport that these two cities play in, and I think this one hasn't been the exception. It's grown over 10 years, and however long it's been. In the early years, obviously Houston was the bigger dog, right? Because of the better team. First year in the league, they win MLS Cup in Dallas's turf, which is obviously something that's changed now, right? The neutral venue is not the MLS Cup anymore, but that's something Houston will always have. Dallas for a little while there went on a little bit of a run because Houston was having bad years. There's been some great moments in this thing. I think the biggest one everybody will remember, at least down here in Houston, was the Ricardo Clark kick on Pescadito Ruiz. There's a 5-0 win at PNC Stadium, and then there's for Dallas, there's all those years they won in Capitan, and now you got Copa Tejas in the mix as well. But I think. No disrespect to Austin, but I do think the rivalry in Texas has been between these two fan bases, and the Austin link has made it fun for Copa Tejas and having all those three teams. But I do think, in the same way that maybe like Seattle, Portland stands out in Cascadia, right? I mean, it's all three teams, but those two really have a different hatred for each other. So I think Herrera's obviously talked about, we have his quotes again all around the website about it would be a dream start for him to kind of get these two wins in Copa Tejas and just kind of set themselves up for a playoff run. And the two coaches are obviously they've talked well about each other, so it'll be a fun one, I think. And remember the last time they faced off, Houston was actually winning 1-0 up there in Frisco, and in Dallas 2 late goals and they took it 2-1. So this one. Houston needs to win this one, especially not just because they're at home, because of Capitan, because of Copa Tejas, and because Herrera's debut.
Massive match with lots of storylines. You can catch them all on the Striker with Victor Ariza, Jonathan Check covering that one. I'll be in Atlanta covering Austin FC against Atlanta. And for the first time in the Striker history, we'll have coverage wall to wall of El Tráfico and La Tráfica, Southern California added to the mix. We've California'd your Striker, Texas. So it's happening. It's happening, and there's more to come.
California's been coming to Texas. We're going to California. We're taking some of the territory back.
We're taking it back. So yeah, so it's a big week for us. Check out all the coverage. Check out the site if you haven't been before. Go check us out. It's 30-day free trial, no risk. $50 a year, $49.99, and only $6.99 a month. So just go check it out. And we'll have coverage of the playoff races for sure. I mean, with the teams, all 5 of our MLS teams right now are in the mix, in the hunt for playoffs. And like I said, there's more to come on the Striker. Thanks for all your support, everything that you've done to get us to this point. And, we're not going anywhere. Like I said, you can get your Texas coverage right here on Monday mornings, or on this case on a Friday morning, live on YouTube and Twitter. And you can go find all of our coverage at thestriker.com. So for Victor Reza, I'm Chris Bills. Thanks so much. And we'll leave it there. We'll catch you on the backside of this busy weekend.